Hello everyone, it's Melanie. I have been in my comp book journals. I started on this day. I was doing like a brain dump with my cheap markers because I keep all these cheap markers here on the desk, and I thought, oh, I wonder how many of these actually work. So I used them to do my brain dump, and if I got them out and they didn't actually work, then I threw them away. So I was trying to, you know, two birds, one stone kind of thing, and check my markers and do my brain dump. So I don't know how much, let's see, I'll actually put on here since I know everyone is watching, but let's see, that one works. So my brain dump is just kind of everything I've got on my mind. Things, ooh, that one doesn't work very well. I need to do this, make appointments, and that one goes in the trash. And then I just thought about the kitchen again. So I guess those are the things I actually need to try to address today. I need to, obviously, the first thing I need to do when I step away from this table is go brush my teeth. Okay, so I got rid of 4 markers there. Those are going in the trash. Okay, so what have I been up to? Let's see. The other day, I opened up one of my drawers and I remembered that I had these. This is a box of the trimmings from the paper cutter. So this, I think, is one of the widest things I have in here, and that's 2.5 inches. So everything in here is less than 2.5 inches. Some of these things, I mean, seriously, Melanie, we need to address why you're keeping these things. I mean, really. I could just put them in the recycling. And you know, honestly, that's what I probably need to do. I don't know why I keep these things. So I thought, well, I need to do something with these. I need to make something with these. So I grabbed some and I started sewing them into strips, or sewing the strips into pages. And so here's some of those that I started on, just straight stitch, sewing them into pages. And then from there, I thought, you know, I could paint them and use them as paper. So then I experimented with different paints and painting them. So some I painted with this Liquitex titanium white. Some I painted with nice gesso. And then I tried some other stuff like, let's see, like this gloss acrylic. That's what this is right here. So I did a little experiment, tried different things. What I ultimately decided on was the gesso that I liked. I like the finish of the gesso the best. The only problem with the gesso, it takes the very longest to dry. But what I did, then I kind of trimmed them to size. So they're approximately 15 inches long and about 7, I think, inches tall. No, 10 inches tall. 10 inches tall. And then, so I made a little, you know, signature of them. And then I was thinking about a cover And the first thing I thought of was a composition book cover, that I could redo a composition book cover, because it would fit pretty well. But I like the idea of going with the fact that this is all made of actual scraps and trash for the most part. Well, it's all stuff that probably should have gone in a recycle bin. So I decided to take some of my backer pages, you know, you have these, those are deli paper, but these kind of pieces of paper. I have some that are tabloid size, and this is the architectural plans that I'm currently using as my backer board and stuff. So I took 4 pages of this stuff that I'd been using for my paint background, and I layered it together with Mod Podge. And then I stitched around the outside edge a few times. The Mod Podge is really sticky, so I doused it with a little bit of baby powder, cornstarch baby powder, so that it wouldn't get stuck under the sewing machine. And so now this cover is 4 layers Mod Podge together. I was really excited because when it dried, it's not noisy. It doesn't crinkle or anything. And I did put the Mod Podge on with, I had to do it like stick it right away, because when you put it on, I noticed when I put the Mod Podge on with a scraper, it dried like instantly and it wasn't sticky. So I had to put the Mod Podge on, stick, lift it up, more Mod Podge, stick it down like that. But I got them really nice and laminated. So now I'm excited. This has 40 pages. It's got 10 folios, so 40 pages. So I'm excited. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I might use it as another collage journal. I'm not sure. But anyway, that was my first idea for using these strips. And then I have these that I started on some new ones. So after I played with those for a while, I came across, I have a whole bunch of these brightly colored strips. I did have a whole bunch from some composition books that I painted, and they're double-sided. So I really like these, and I thought, well, I'm gonna do something with those. So I thought, oh, I can weave them together. So then I started down this path. I don't know which is the first one. I think this is the first one I did. Is this the first one? I think so. So I have no clue. No, this is the first one I did, this biggest one. So I did this one, and then I have no idea what order I did these in. But I wove them together, and then I stitched on top of them. And then I tried some different ways. You know, this is like every other row of stitching, and then this one is every row of stitching, but the pieces were really big. Let's see. This one is every single row and column are stitched. These feel really cool. They kind of have a feeling like cloth in a way because of all the stitching. I don't know what I'm going to do with them though, because they're not sturdy enough to use as like the cover for a book, unless maybe I Mod Podge. So that might be my next, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. So I'm going to choose like my least favorite of these. And then I'm going to do a layer of Mod Podge on it. So then I thought, oh, I have all these scraps from scrapbook paper, the edges from the 12 by 12 scrapbook paper. So I wove a bunch of those together. I had to add in some ledger scraps I had because I didn't have enough of the 12 by 12. So I wove all that together and then stitched the whole thing. So there's a 12 by 12 piece. And then I played with the painted pages mixed with book pages and other stuff out of the scrap bin. And then I had a whole bunch of these little tiny, some of these are like smaller than 1/8 of an inch wide. So I wove all of these together. This actually took a long time. And then I stitched every, can you see that? I stitched every single row. This feels really cool. I kind of think I like this just to mat and frame it. I actually thought it might look kind of cool, this, to layer it like in a frame so that this is like, sticks up from the back. And then I just need to make like one more, and I could do like 3 layers of, anyway, that was a thought. I love the way this feels though. Then I played with this. This is a one book page as the, I guess you could technically call that the warp. And then I used some fabric and different pages to go through. This one I did not sew the entire thing. I just sewed around the outside edge to secure it all. Then I did another whole page. This is a black and white photo out of an encyclopedia. And I just wove all red and pink through it. And then I started on this one last night before I went to bed. And I was going to do just some different... now on all of these, I completely wove the entire thing and then went through and sewed everything. But on this one, to hold it together a little better, I started by... I've been stitching as I go, which is kind of tricky because these, I go through the machine this way, but these want to get in the way and get stuck on the edge of the machine and stuff. But anyway, when this is finished, then I'm going to stitch, I'll stitch all the rows, or all the columns, I guess you could call them. So that's my next thing. And then when I was at my quilt retreat this weekend, my friend Lisa gave me this huge bag of fabric scraps. So I took, there's a whole bunch of these in here. These are like maybe half inch wide, anywhere from say 2 to 2.5 inches long. And there's a lot of them in here. And it's from one fabric collection. This is a quilt that she made. So I started sewing all these together end to end like this, and I made yards. I have no clue how much is actually here. I didn't measure it yet, but there are multiple yards of this. I don't know what it is now. Fabric ribbon. Put it on a paper towel roll. Very fancy. Percy. So I did that, thought I could weave these into something. So I got a piece of, this is pattern paper, the pattern paper that I use when I sew. And I had messed this piece up, so it was in the scraps. So I started to do something like this where I would stitch these down. And so I wouldn't have 2 lines of stitching. I was actually stitching them in rows down to the paper. So like the next row, I would just start by putting one here and then sewing, and then layering one on top of there and then layering another one on top there. So I was doing it like a row this way and then rotate it, a row this way, rotate it, a row this way, rotate it. But then I didn't know what I was going to actually do with it, and I started thinking, you can still see the the backing through there. So I thought, if I'm going to waste any more of these pieces of fabric on this, I think I'd rather do it on something that a substrate or a backing that if you saw through it, it would be like kind of matching. So I could do it like on a solid blue or something. So then I did that. And y'all want to know why I'm not making videos all the time? Whew. This is why, because I am so scatterbrained. I am everywhere. I go from one thing to another. So in making those little strippy things, yes, those woven pages, I ended up with these scraps. And I'm gonna call these real scraps. And that's because these are not scraps that I generated myself. These are not where I actually cut into a new piece of paper to make scraps. For this journal, this Busy Hands journal that I've been working in, I needed some inspiration, so I went to my composition book, volume 2, which is the one that turned into just a glue book, basically. And I looked through it, and you see how with this one, I was really I was getting a little too, I think, like this, getting a little too into composition and thinking way too much about the look of the finished piece and whatnot. And I love the way that this journal evolved from just literally gluing stuff down. I mean, this is pieces of paper that I would write things down, like a word, write it down when I heard it, and then leave it on my desk. So I just went through, glued things that were sitting on my desk, quotes, and so then I started seeing how I had done this, and this is literally just scraps of paper like that. And they're not in any color arrangement for the most part. What I was going to say though about this journal, how it kind of developed, it did develop into kind of color stories. So they were collages of junk, but there definitely is a color, kind of a color thing going on with them. But what I loved about this and looking through it now, which it's fun to do things like this, I think, and then you don't look at it for a long time, because then when you go back to it, you're like, oh, it doesn't look as bad as I thought it did, you know? Oh, that's kind of a good idea. So going back to it, the thing that I noticed and the thing that I really liked, and something that I personally found really inspiring when I went back through this journal, was noticing how I just took scraps and glued them in willy-nilly, like this, without as much thought to it. You know, these I did kind of have a color thing going on, but like this scrap, that's washi tape, scrap, 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 just bits and scraps. And I'm liking this, even though I'm calling this Busy Hands and I'm saying I'm not putting a lot of thought into it. I think the further I get, the more thought I am putting into it, and I want to get away from that. I want it to be more just more kind of, I mean, I don't know if spontaneous is the right word, but you know what I mean. It is, oh, I've lost my glue book page. Well, I'll just use one of these. I'll use this. But what I loved about when I cleaned my table up after this, what I loved was that this is actually real scraps. You know, I make scrap quilts, and one thing about my scrap quilts that's kind of interesting is sometimes they're not really even scraps. You know, I have to buy fabric and cut it up into scraps to make scraps. Cut it up in little pieces, you know, to make scraps. So I was excited. Does that even make sense? I'm really scattered. I had coffee today. These are real scraps. These are the pieces that I trimmed while making those woven papers. Ooh, wouldn't that look cool to add one of these to a page in here? But this one took way too long. This took like over an hour, so I'm not gonna do that one. Too much work for this little book. But I am loving the idea of just going through here and gluing these things in place. How about right there? I'm just sticking things down. I love all these. Ooh, do I want the pink side or the purple side of that? I think I want the purple side. And I have a purple page right here. I'm just gonna put it right there. Oh, there's another piece of it. Yep. I need one more now. One more purpley thing right there. Do I have any? No. So I need to remember, I need to find a purple, a piece of something purple. So I have 3 of them there. Oh, I could use that. Ooh, isn't that cute? I guess I kept it because it says, I should like to see myself going to the blank, but look at the back. Can't tell if it was like a floral or what, but here's a sticker that's no longer sticky. Purple, I'm gonna put that on there. What was I looking for? I was looking for a little square of something that's a little purple square. I like to work in 3s. Nothing? Nothing purple? Ooh, I'll put that in there. Okay, well, I'm not gonna get too into it. I'll find something. Let's see. So one of the biggest things I put on my little brain dump there, if you remember, was, ow, oh, I pinned that on, but I haven't sewn it on, was that I need to answer my YouTube comments. Maybe I'll make a video of that. Would that, I wonder if that would be interesting. A video of me answering my YouTube comments, because then everybody would hear the answer and everyone's comment would get read. So I am not very good at that, y'all. I'm just not. I read them, but I just don't always reply in a timely manner. Ugh. I'm gonna move my glue sheet down here so y'all can see the book better. Oh, I like this a lot better. This just, whoop, you know, not thinking too hard about it, which, looking for that little purple thing, that was thinking too hard about this. Just waiting until I find another purple tiny piece of paper. That's what I'm gonna prefer. My sticky page is getting completely sticky. I don't have any non-sticky spots. So I hope you guys are doing well. I wish I was posting more often, but sometimes I'm just so scatterbrained that, you know, what am I gonna post? Oop, these videos of me trying to figure out what to do. Anyway, this was fun, guys. So it wasn't 17 or 30 minutes. It's going to be more. I will have to edit it, but it was fun. And I will, when I finish gluing this down, I will see you all in the next video.